afternoon, New Life Church, and welcome to our TRAC devotional for the week. Now, how many of you like a good recipe? I know I do. I am forever looking for recipes, cutting them out, clipping them, making photocopies of them, hoping at some point to make that product. I know that I have a chocolate chip recipe that I have had for years, and I love this recipe, and I pretty much stay to exactly what it says. I follow those directions completely, which brings me to the point of what is in a recipe. Well, a recipe has our ingredients, it has directions and the instructions and how to put it all together in order to get the finished product. Now, some of those ingredients you can move around a little bit or switch up, but there are key ingredients in a recipe that can't be changed, that are a staple for what needs to be in that product in order for it to come out well on the other end. And as we're reading through the book of Acts, that kind of came to mind. I thought, maybe there are some key ingredients as we read Acts that we find about the formation and the growth of the early church. That even though it was started hundreds of years ago, these are still ingredients, if you want to use that word, or key components that took place that helped the early church to grow that we can put into practice today in order to help our church to grow and to develop new believers. So what are these key components that I'm talking about and that I'm seeing in the book of Acts? Well, the first one is prayer. The people were a people of prayer. And it didn't seem like it was just like something that they did every once in a while. It seemed like it was something that they were devoted to, that prayer was a part of their very being. And when I read chapter 16, I read of how Paul and Silas were in prison at midnight praying. Think about that. They were in one of the darkest hours of their lives. And yet, what were they doing but praying? So prayer didn't just take place when everything was going well. Prayer took place in the good times and the bad times, in the times that were easy and the times that were rough. They were a people devoted to prayer. Another key ingredient that I see is encouragement. That they would encourage each other, and I saw this as I read through chapter 20, that they would encourage each other. And that is so important. I know when someone encourages me, it just builds me up and it just helps me want to keep going. They were a people that would encourage each other. They would encourage themselves together as a group. They would encourage each other as individuals. So another key component of the early church was that they were people of encouragement. I'm on the third one. A third component that I saw was that they were a people of fellowship. That they would come together, that they would share with each other, that no one was in need, but that they worked together as a unit. And that, to me, was also another key ingredient in the formation of the early church, is that they fellowshiped together. They were family. They came together. And then lastly, I see as the fourth component now, is that they shared the message. You know, there were so many things that they could have shared at that time. There was so much going on at that time. Christians were being put in jail. They were persecuted. They were beaten. There were so many reasons the church could have folded up and just stopped, but it didn't. And they boldly proclaimed the message of the gospel. When there was so much, like I said, that they could have shared, so much that they could have tried to do, they boiled it down to the fact that people needed to know about Jesus. People needed to know that God loved them, and that Jesus gave his life for each one. So what was their message when they stood up and boldly proclaimed? They stood up and told about Jesus and about his salvation and the forgiveness of sins. And then I think there's one more ingredient. Maybe I already mentioned it. It was prayer. Yes, they prayed. They prayed, I believe, on all occasions. They were a people of prayer. So as we look at the early church and we're like, that took place hundreds of years ago, I think there are key things that they did, key components that took place in the early church that we today can model ourselves after, that we can use their quote-unquote recipe in developing and growing our church. Pray, encourage, fellowship, preach the message, the truth of the gospel, and then pray. New Life Church, I hope that you have a wonderful week as we continue to journey through the book of Acts. I know God's got so much more for us. Have a wonderful week. God bless you.